Ghana for koto obabim e John Dramani Mahama so omra president e wo ma Ghana bim ate for minim samoti e menka che che munim se me de na me supporter na kwa bidi akon ona me koto mabade man no but unfortunately one win it but that doesn't mean that Ghana must not go on and then ye de aton chen later so na kwa bidi akon na be so obesa ba bima we will rekindle it and see what we will do but for now let's shift the attention to what will help Ghana to develop. And then John Dramani Mahama a granted interview with Deutsche Welle TV. Na sa interview no more 7 person de brel. Before I de brel on my channel here BJ online. We talk politics, we talk entertainment, we talk motivations and anything that will help mankind. It is your first time subscribe to my channel BJ online. Ubia na what notification bell na fe watch the wadwene or comment section wa me. Comment in here pa because eno na boa a shapy conversation no. Ndi what do comment section ho mame. Now before me do be call interview na John Dramani Mahama eye no mu no. Pese me nkyere madwene kakra bi ewo abato a akoso yi ho. Me de nka me believe the concept of everyone deserves a second chance. No. Me believe ça. Because judging from what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia enene Akufo-Addo aban wo maye no, I don't think you will agree with me say ne aye woman. Ese se Ghana for ma Akufo Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia another chance to become president of Ghana. Debi emwa. The man is too soft. The man is too soft. On timi emwa my Ghana. Ghana ehia obi a hwe amamuo no ehia obi a owa kokoduro na wono ni no no na the yes yes. Governance that doesn't need a conformist. No. It needs somebody that is radical and is ready to push his agenda. Enye obi a ebere bia de kasa yenko na woko debi. Enti Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia doesn't deserve to become a president of Ghana. But John Dramani Mahama de Oshe amamu obebuye 2012 to 2016. Now they compare Akufo-Addo and Bawumia de ho. Then me feel say giving the president-elect John Dramani Mahama the second chance, it's worth it. Because minim say John Dramani Mahama de no be ya de kakra acha Akufo-Addo de Bawumia be ye. Na John Dramani Mahama no me nshada njinin disa. The reason is that no nkwa na ba govern Ghana. You remember those babies with sharp teeth? Those days. Omako opposition, 8 years. No more. They say they are so much hungry. And I'm telling you, they are going to milk this country dry. Until Ghana force should get prepared to say. Jebesi biano. Jebesom sa. But Ghanaians shouldn't expect anything spectacular from the NDC and John Dramani Mahama. Though it won't happen. The Hamika say the cycle is going to continue. Very soon, Ghanaians will get fed up with John Dramani Mahama and his government. Corruption and corruption perception are going to pile up. And people will begin to say that Yansan Kofa MPP Mabium, Tigana for Besan starting no more to Merida de Sambe Wame. Enti MPP Besan ba power. Na omoso asan abedi nkosa sem sa biom na fe Ghana no an do to atopre. That is because the youth in Ghana are not so matured to move away from where you party. Where you party. So you enjoy sa de dia. And I'm telling you, Ghana will continue to be where it is. This is my take. When I'm imagining me, also what you're saying. Share no comment section. Now, in the interview with DWTV, John Dramani Mahama highlighted some things. Me fisa said John Dramani Mahama timi ya ebebo my Ghana. Ebini the constitutional review and not there, to be honest with you. So John Dramani Mahama timi ye na omu yi partisan political interest na wo constitution ni mu no that aspect no omu yi free mu. Now the brain of the constitution no be ya dia edwene o my Ghana ho. I think that Ghana will be better say ye nya omompanyini a wono no ye akokodro ni na wo ye visionary ya obetimi pushing the agenda of accelerated development. It means in the near future. Ghana bit me. He also touched on some few things that, judging from his previous experience, I don't think John Dramani Mahama will do much different from what he did earlier. But I know that he's going to do a little bit better than the MPP. You hear John Dramani Mahama, an interviewer, or granted, if you say you was a new
President-elect John Dramani Mahama. Hello, sir. Thanks for making the time. Congratulations on the historic, emphatic victory. Ghanaians have given you a second chance to become president. How does that make you feel?
Oh, well, it just makes me feel the weight of responsibility. And looking at the faces of the young people I saw at all the rallies and the high expectation they have in our government, it gives me a humble feeling and a sense of preparing to give it my best so that I can turn this country around and create a better future for our young people. I call it resetting Ghana. We need a reset so that we can create a better environment for our young people to thrive and create enough opportunity for them to be able to realize their full potential.
Right. It's interesting you've mentioned that word again, reset, because that's what you have pledged to do. What exactly do you mean by reset, Ghana?
You get to a point where your telephone or your computer program becomes corrupted and it freezes. You need to reset so that it can begin to work again. We've been implementing our democracy and our governance systems for many years now, since 1992. And I think that the time has come for us to reset our governance, reset our economic management issues, and reset our attitudes in order that we can build the Ghana that we all want together.
Right. But for those listening, it's still the word reset. Can you take us through one or two ways you want to reset?
Well, one, that we improve on efficiency in governance. And one of the things we need to do is to carry through the constitutional review that stalled after this government came into place. There are many issues that we need to deal with in our constitutional governance and also in our governance activities. And so one of the first things we'll do would be to take the whole issue of constitutional review again and see how we can structure things so that we have a more dynamic constitution going forward. Aside from that, we need to take the fight against corruption and waste to a new level. And so how do we improve our governance system so that we're not having so much waste as a result of corruption and waste? And so that's something that we need to look at. How do we look at our economic management in the sense that our economic managers are able to manage it in such a way that we don't end up where we have found ourselves this time? For instance, in terms of debt management, one of the key things we're looking at is to set up a more transparent debt management authority so that Ghanaians know what debts are being accrued on their behalf and whether they're going into the things that Ghanaians deem essential or they're just being piled on because somebody is making a profit out of it. We're also going to establish a system for recovering any ill-gotten wealth or misappropriation of government properties or landed property that anybody has taken, so that we set a new standard of accountability in governance. If people want to serve in government, they must be prepared to account to the public for their service. And so we're not only going to hold the outgoing governments accountable, we're going to hold people who serve in this new government to the same standards of accountability that will hold the outgoing government.
Right. You've touched a lot on the economy, which obviously is currently the biggest issue. If you talk to a lot of Ghanaians, they are feeling the pinch, which leads me to this, because you've talked about implementing a 24-hour economy. What does that look like, and how do you hope to achieve that?
Well, I believe that you will understand what a 24-hour economy is. Ghana is not going to be the first to implement a 24-hour economy. There are several countries that have a 24-hour economy, and it covers public services, it covers the private sector, and it covers the entertainment and service industry. And so we're going to give incentives to people who can work longer hours, increase production, and be able to take on more employees, especially for a country like ours, where we have a youthful population of more than 60%. And so we need to do the things that will make sure that opportunities open up for them. And so we're going to give the incentives. We're going to roll out that policy as we promised in our 120-day plan. By the end of 120 days, we'll have the full comprehensive 24-hour policy, which will incentivize the private sector to work longer hours, to increase their productivity, take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area to export into other African countries, take advantage of our existing AGOA agreements, take advantage of our agreements with the European Union so that we can increase productivity and export. Encourage foreign investors to come and set up in Ghana. You know that Europe and other parts of the world have aging populations, so labor is becoming a problem and becoming expensive. How do we attract those investors to bring those businesses here and run them 24 hours, 3 shifts a day, so that more young people in Ghana can get work to do? That is what it's all about. And within 120 days of coming into government, as promised in our manifesto, we're going to roll out the policy so that the private sector can see what is in it for them, and those who want to sign up will be able to do so. Aside from that, I'm going to chair an accelerated exports promotion program personally as president, in order that we're able to push exports so that we're not producing only for the Ghanaian market, but also for the wider international market.
You see, John Dramani Mahama, as a communication expert, this is exactly what I expect from him. Take it or leave it. John Dramani Mahama is a fine gentleman. He's very humble and a very good politician. He knows what Ghanaians want. Nti wahu the way osikasa, wahu the demeanor. He has a very big heart to accommodate nkwasa sema nkrofo beka nyina. You see, that is one thing you can't take away from John Dramani Mahama. But can we trust him based on the past experience we have with him as a president of Ghana? That is a big question that many of us are asking. Look at all these things that he talks about. I'm telling you, if JDM is able to do all these things that he's talking about, projecting Ghana to that level that we can export goods to get foreign exchange, maybe I will change my mind and begin to vote for the NDC. But until then, me say when you know a rhetoric. Interesting in JDM.
Right. I mean, you've given yourself a timeline. First 120 days in office. I'd hope to be the first person to talk to you and remind you, hey, 120 days are over. What have you achieved? But we'll give you some time before that. But Mr. President-elect, let's look back at your previous term as president. The economy was struggling. I'm sure you'll be the first to say that. Frequent electricity blackouts made it even worse, affecting so many lives and businesses. Things were so bad you had to secure a $1 billion IMF loan in a bid to revive the economy. Your administration also suffered a number of corruption scandals. So why are you the man to lead Ghana again now?
Well, let me make a bit of a correction. I mean, people don't look at our end of term numbers. Our end of term numbers were good for an election year in 2016. We ended with a budget deficit of 6.1%. We ended with end of 2016 a debt to GDP ratio of less than 57% debt to GDP. We financed Government of Ghana budget, our budget that year, with zero central bank financing. So the end of term numbers were good. You bought into that narrative that we left an economic mess. It's absolutely untrue. We handed over this economy to the administration that is just going out with predictions of 8% growth in 2017. And so the 8% growth in 2017 had absolutely nothing to do with the new government that came in. We brought on stream 2 new oil fields with fresh revenues from petroleum. We increased cocoa production to almost 1 million tons and brought in $2 billion into the economy. And so the narrative that we left an economic mess is wrong. That's first. But in addition,
right,
we have
so just
energy crisis. I'm coming just a minute. The energy crisis was a legacy issue. It was the lack of investment in generation over the years that crystallized into an energy crisis. I went to Parliament and I promised the nation that I was elected for a time like this and I was going to fix it. By December 2015, Ghana had no energy crisis. We had increased generation. We had put in the financial mechanisms for paying legacy debts. And so don't buy into that narrative. We had sorted things out by the time we left office.
So, Mr. President-elect, obviously it's more than a narrative. If you talk to a lot of Ghanaians, they were not feeling this percentage growth you're talking about in their pocket. And, you know, some would even say now there are some economic figures that suggest that Ghana's current economy is strengthening slowly. There are some predictions about 7%, economic growth under this current government that you've been bashing and saying they've not done a good job. So ending of anyone's term, there seems to be some sort of jump and some excitement when a new president-elect is about to come in. So which is what you're saying. So you're not wrong to say that, but what the point is, or remains, it was still a serious economic challenge for many Ghanaians, and they weren't feeling the development you're talking about in their pocket. So my next question to you, Mr. President, will be, knowing all that you promised Ghanaians now, knowing all the challenges you face, again, mentioned corruption issues and all of that, and you want to now stamp it out when you form your next administration. What is it that you've learned from your previous administration that you want to do differently this time around?
Well, one of the things we focused on in the previous administration was to put back the infrastructure. We had a huge infrastructure deficit in terms of roads, water, electricity, healthcare, and just name it. And so one of our focuses was to put the infrastructure back, but also believing that in investing in infrastructure, you stimulate the economy. And in stimulating the economy, you create jobs. And so, yes, we did create more than 300,000 jobs in the construction sector. And the construction sector carried along a whole of the economic value chain. One area that I think we would focus on and look at in this new administration is to look at issues to do with livelihoods. And so while we'll continue investments in infrastructure through the big push that we are advocating, we're also going to look at issues that affect livelihoods in the sense of the digital economy, in the sense of investing in fintech growth, investing in the pharmaceutical industry, investing in agricultural and agro-processing value chains. That is most important. And so, yes, we're going to look at infrastructure as a driver of growth, but we're also going to look at the larger picture of livelihoods so that we can create more jobs in all those other sectors. And so export, using Ghana Exim Bank, which we established before we left office, we're going to make sure the investments from Ghana Exim go into the critical sectors that will increase productivity and increase jobs for young people. We have the program we call the Jumara program. And that is a program to give young people the kind of capital and startup to be able to start small and medium enterprises. That whole thing was politicized and was given to political apparatchiki and others, while those who really needed it did not get it. And so we're going to look at that. Aside from that, we're going to look at not only piling on taxes as a means of raising revenue, but also looking on the expenditure side and cutting waste in government, reducing the number of ministers, reducing the number of appointees, so that we're able to bring the budget deficit within the target zone as quickly as possible.
Right. Ghanaians have shown time and time again that if they give any leader the chance to rule and they are not satisfied, they get them or their party out. So Ghanaians are really keenly listening to all these promises you're making. And we'll hope that you do, as you say, because then it benefits the country and everyone as a whole. So I would wish you all the best with that. But let's switch things a bit. In recent years, there's been a number of military takeovers in...
Forget about that. Ghana military, say Jerry Rawlings free Munubema be an imbium. To forget about coup be at Vinci or Ghana. So coup besia, Kakufuado are buying key too good da. Kanabukat knees are buying winky too good da. To forget about that, bro. So the president-elect John Dramani Mahama, I would see, Once he is a communication expert. He's a fine gentleman. John Dramani Mahama is down to earth. He's not arrogant. I have no problem with the personality of John Dramani Mahama. But to be honest with you, I have every problem with the the political party governance system. You're running with Ghana. I don't know Ghana. It's anybody that comes on the ticket of these parties, no matter your good intentions, party name Mao Kwan and Mao Nye Messasawe. Media BJ, we're the maiden edition after the elections. If you know, issues are sensitive to nation development. Beyond. Misaka me the bro. Macau. Bye bye.